How you doing, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well today. It's Memorial Day, and I figured the weather was nice. We got really clear skies, so I wanted to take an opportunity to refly the Hudson Corridor. This time what I'm going to do, though, is I have a couple more cameras, so hopefully we get some better aerial photography, and we are about to cross the Verazano Bridge. I'm not going to narrate too much. I'm just going to pay attention to the radio and kind of just talk through what we see.
800 to the bridges.
So the plan this time is, just as before, we're going to cross over the Verazano Bridge, continue the Hudson River all the way up north to the Alpine Tower. Once we get up there, we will go ahead and turn around, come back down south, and then circle the Statue of Liberty. We're probably about 3 miles shy of the Verazano Bridge. You can see it there off our nose. And you can also see, it looks like a cruise ship is leaving New York City and just making its way out to sea. So some nice sights. It's a clear day today. So hopefully we'll get a chance to have a lot of nice sightseeing en route.
Okay, folks, so what I decided to do is make it audible here and decide to go with a voiceover instead of using the cockpit audio, mainly because there was a lot of radio calls, and then later on you'll also see several obstacle alerts that were being presented by the GPS. So what I wanted to start with here is just show you the picture of the Hudson River Corridor. And as you can see by the map, there's a couple things I just want to orient you to. This just gives you kind of a broad range. But dead center, as you see the river, there's a blue line that basically depicts the corridor. And that corridor goes from the surface up to 1,300 feet. And then you see that number kind of right there at the bottom center, which is the 70/13. That is simply telling you that the class Bravo, that is above the New York City corridor, starts at 1,300 feet and goes up to 7,000 feet. Now, when you look at the map, you'll see a couple things here. So, as I mentioned before, the river is outlined in the dark blue, and then there's arrows kind of showing it or depicting the route of flight. So basically, the northbound route should be on the east side of the river, and the southbound side should be on the west side of the river. And then on top of that, you'll notice that there are different flags calling out different checkpoints. So if we go from the bottom, work our way up, you'll see the Verazano Bridge, the Statue of Liberty, Governor's Island, the clock, and the Intrepid. There are two more sites that are further north that are not depicted on the map, and those are the George Washington Bridge and the Alpine Tower. So the other thing to know about the corridor here is, for traffic, anything that is local, meaning commuter airlines or commuter helicopters, tourist helicopters, they're to travel below 1,000 feet. And then for transient aircraft that are basically traveling the entire length of the corridor, they should plan to travel at 1,000 feet and under 1,300 feet. All right, so as we're coming through the corridor here, this is just kind of a first look at what we have outside is the Statue of Liberty and or Governor's Island, which you see there on the right. Okay, and there's a good view of the Statue of Liberty as well as Ellis Island. That's on the left side of the aircraft, and we'll fly over those a little bit later. Now, as we're coming up to the city here, and we're looking at the financial district and the World Trade Center, I started getting these audio alerts basically warning of obstacles. So that is an audible alert that goes across the intercom, so it's pretty loud. And then you also see there's a visual depiction in the GI-275 synthetic vision, which is that red tower that's shown there. And that alarm went off for a little bit, so I went ahead and decided to do the voiceover. Okay, so we're coming up to the southern tip of Manhattan. There you see the Battery, which is that park on the southern tip right as it butts up against the financial center. Obviously, the most prominent feature here is the Freedom Tower, which is right in the World Trade Center complex and area. And as we get a little bit closer, you'll get a chance to see the 9/11 Memorial, which is also depicting the old Twin Towers where they stood prior to them falling. Okay, now we're looking at Midtown. In the background there, you see the Empire State Building as well as Madison Square Garden. And underneath Madison Square Garden is Penn Station, which is the major Amtrak railway thruway. And those are the railroad tracks that are coming under the Hudson from New Jersey into Penn Station, and they continue all the way up to New England. Off to the right here is kind of the Broadway sector of New York City, and then we're zooming in now on the Intrepid, which is another one of the landmarks that we need to call out while navigating through the Hudson Corridor. And as you see, there are several aircraft on the top of the deck of the carrier as well as the Concorde. And just north of Broadway, what we'll see next is Central Park. As we continue to work our way north, you can see Yankee Stadium. This is the new stadium, obviously, replacing the old one. As a side note, that's where I saw my very first baseball game. And just as we pass Yankee Stadium, we now come across the George Washington Bridge, which is another one of the landmarks that we call out. And we're abeam the Alpine Tower, so this is kind of the northern part of the Hudson River Corridor. So I'm going to do a 180 here and work my way back south. As we're making the turn, you'll see the tower right there on top of the hillside. And here we are coming back into the Manhattan Center, and we're crossing over the George Washington Bridge once again. As we look to the right of the airplane, we get a chance to look at some of the cities in New Jersey that are across the river from New York. One of the things to note here is if you see that little tower in the water, that is actually the ventilation tubes for the Holland Tunnel. And then these railroad tracks are actually part of the PATH train system, which connects New Jersey to New York and runs up and down basically from Hoboken up to Penn Station. And as we continue further south and getting towards the southern tip of Manhattan, we're once again passing the Freedom Tower. We'll get both a video from the interior as well as take advantage of that 360 camera out on the wing and get a little snapshot of my Tomahawk with the Freedom Tower in the background. And now we're zooming in on the clock, which is yet another reporting point for the Hudson River Corridor. As we go from the clock, what you'll next see is Ellis Island. Obviously a lot of history there, and many of the Americans who've immigrated here have used that as a passage point coming into the States. And then finally we have the Statue of Liberty, so we'll get a chance to circle it here and also get ourselves a nice shot of both Manhattan and Jersey City / Hoboken on the right and left respectively. And of course, once we finish circling the Statue of Liberty, we continue southbound and we'll make our way back towards the Verazano Bridge. And then once we cross the bridge, the Class B airspace shelf rises again, so it gives us a little bit more clearance and we can start to climb. So there's the Verazano off in the distance. That's our starting point. And so I know I talked about a lot of the traffic in the corridor. Right here is an example of a helicopter that was within a few hundred feet of us. And you see it progressing forward there. It's just under the span right now of the bridge as it's working its way out. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a pleasure flying this. It was a beautiful day. What I certainly ask is you continue to come back, subscribe, and like this, and I hope to see you again soon.
And Central Jersey, Tomahawk on final runway 7, Central Jersey.
Central Jersey traffic, SF39 Mike, holding